So let us see a few more questions and answers in software engineering. First is define the terms agile methods and agile process. Let us start with agile methods. Agile methods, methods to overcome perceived and actual weaknesses in conventional software engineering, to accommodate changes in environment, requirements and user changes. So there is a slight difference between these agile methods and agile processes. What are the methods? The methods which are applied to overcome the weaknesses of conventional software engineering, like what we have seen in waterfall and other models. And process means, one more thing, to accommodate changes in the environment, because things will change. Change is the only thing which never changes. So we have to accommodate the change in the environment, requirements and use cases. Agile methods deal with that. And if you talk about agile processes they focus on team structures, team communications, essence of delivery of software rapidly, and it de-emphasizes importance of intermediate product. Right? What is the use of process technology tools? This may be asked that what is the importance and why you use these process technology tools? So we need to answer like this: use of process technology tools. First is to help software organization to analyze their current processes. This is your process technology. Organize work tasks, control and monitor progresses, and manage technical quality. Now define the term scripts. Scripts, specific process activities and other detailed work functions that are part of team processes are scripts. Generally, in this agile terminology, scripts are written, and these are the process activities and these detailed work functions which are part of team processes are termed as scripts. Now, what is the objective of the project planning process? What is the objective? Why do you want to plan the process? Project planning process is why required? So the objective of the project planning processes is simple: to provide framework that enable manager to make reasonable estimates of resources, cost and schedule. In one line, if I want to or if I wish to explain software engineering, is that you are only interested in two things: that cost overrun should not be there and time overrun should not be there. That is why we require proper project planning. So what are the decomposition techniques? Decomposition techniques are software sizing and problem-based estimation, process-based estimation and estimation with use cases, and then reconciling the estimates. So these are the way you decompose. Various ways are there. The basic thing is, basic idea is to use the size, but there are various other aspects also which can be used as decomposition technique. How do we compute the expected value of software size? Now the size has come. How do we know that the software size, what is the expected value of the software size before in hand? For that, we have various, people have devised various techniques. So let us start with this. Expected value, the basic one is this: the expected value of estimated variable, that is size S, can be computed as the weighted average of optimistic, that is, this is optimistic, most likely, you multiply it by 4, most likely, and pessimistic, S-PESS, right? This is the optimistic, middle one is the most likely and this is the pessimistic. And they see this is the coefficient 4, and weighted average means 1 into SOP plus 4 into SM plus 1 into SPS by 6, and this will give you an expected value of the software size. So this is the size which is optimistic, which is most likely, and this is the size which is pessimistic. Now what is an object point? Object point. Now count is determined by multiplying the original number of object instances by weighting factor and summing to obtain total object point count. We have functional points, FPs and all. So object point and functional point, they are often talked about. Object point is count which is determined by multiplying original number of object instances. So if we have class, we will have objects also. So multiplying the original number of object instances by the weighting factor, the weigh factor. What is the weighting factor? For example, in this previous question we have answered this to be 4. The coefficient is 4, so there has to be some weighting factor. Then summing the total object point count is the object. What is the difference between known risk and predictable risk? Known risk, and we will see the weighted also. First, let us see this known risk, then we will go to this predictable risk. Known risk is that can be uncovered after careful evaluation of the project plan, the business and the technical environment in which the product is being developed. If the risks are known or they can be pre-hand uncovered, those are known risks. For example, unrealistic delivery rate. You have inspection, walkthrough and reviews. If you have a Gantt chart in front of you, you can very well find out where we are lagging. We will be able to deliver this product or not. There will be some delay in the delivery. This can be known risk. And what about this predictable risk? Extrapolated from past project experience. For example, staff turnover. These are the predictable risks. Means if you know that you are having few team members and there is a susceptibility that somebody would leave in between or at the later stage of the product, then these are the predictable risks and you can very well plan ahead of it. List out the basic principles of software project scheduling. Software project scheduling is very important. These are the principles of software project scheduling. First is compartmentalization, interdependency, time allocation, effort validation, defined responsibilities and defined outcomes. What is meant by cardinality and modality? Cardinality, as you have seen in ER diagrams, cardinality, the number of occurrence of one object related to the number of occurrence of another object, that is 1 to 1. Let me show you that. These are various objects. So if one object is related to other, we call it 1 to 1. If one to many means if 1 to many. If this object is related to this one and this one, we call 1 to many. This is 1 to n cardinality. And many to means, if you combine this also, this will be many to. Whether or not a particular data object must participate in the relationship. Okay, this is we call it as a modality. Again, cardinality I have shown you, but the modality is whether or not a particular data object must participate in the relationship is the modality. What are the objectives of requirement analysis? The requirement analysis, as in my previous discussions also, this is very important because this is the Bible. This is the Bible of any software project. Objectives of requirement analysis are to describe what customer requires and establish a basis for creation of software design and the overall product, and define a set of requirements that can be validated once the design is built. What are the two additional features of Rayleigh-Peerby model? Have you heard about this? Rayleigh-Peerby model. There are various features, and in addition to this, we have user interface processing and maintenance and self-test processing. These are the two additional features of innate debugging model. Define system context diagram, SCD. SCD, system context diagram. It establishes information boundary between system being implemented and environment which the system operates. Right? Second is, it defines all external producers, external consumers and entities that communicate through user interface. So this relies and this emphasizes on, first it was that establish information boundary between system being implemented and the environment in which operate. This is the system, this is the environment, so there has to be some boundary, it defines the boundary, and now these external producer, consumer, all entities, how they communicate, the interface also is defined by system context diagram, SCD. What is SFD then? SFD, system flow diagram. It indicates information flow across SCD region. We have just seen SCD region. These are two regions, how the system or the flow of information is going to be performed in these two regions, and it is used to guide the system engineer to develop the system as he is aware of what is going on between these two regions. So SFD helps the system engineer. What are the requirement engineering process functions? Requirement engineering start, the definition in Pressman, it says the requirement engineering process functions or requirement engineering is the set of process which are applied right from the inception to the deployment. So we have inception, elicitation, elaboration, negotiation, specification, validation and management. These are the requirement engineering process. Requirement engineering. This is the first process. In any model, first is the requirement engineering. So inception, elicitation, elaboration, negotiation, specification, validation and management. These are the steps of requirement engineering process functions. Define SQA plan, software quality assurance plan. Software quality assurance, it provides a roadmap for instituting software quality assurance. Means you are assuring software quality by some means. This is the plan which guide you. And this plan serves as a template for SQA activities that should be instituted for each software project. What is the baseline criteria in SCM? Software Configuration Management, SCM. SCM is basically related to changes. So it helps to control change. Specification of product that has been formally reviewed and agreed upon serves as basis for future development, and that can be changed only through formal change control procedure. So tracking and controlling is the base work of SCM. Define status reporting. What is status reporting? This is also known as configuration status reporting. This is a SCM task that answers status report will answer what happened, who did it, when did it happen, and what else will be affected. This is status report. What is the origin of changes that are requested for software? Now, origin of changes in this SCM, basically it is related to SCM. First is new business or market condition, change will be required. Customer now they have new requirements, changes will be done. Some reorganization or business growth or downsize or various effect or phases of business is requiring some changes. Budgetary and scheduling constraints. Say if some person is ready to give the money for the project, and now at later stages he says, no, I don't have money, I'm bankrupt. So these kind of things will be taken care. List out the elements of SCM, software configuration management SCM. You have component elements, process elements, construction elements and human elements which are involved in SCM. What are the features supported by SCM? SCM software configuration management. These are the features which are supported by SCM. First is versioning. Versioning is very important. Dependency tracking and change management. This is also a task of SCM. Requirements tracking, configuration management, and audit trials. These are all the features supported by SCM. What are the objectives of SCM process? Objective of SCM process, because we are dealing with the changes now. Identify, in broader word, as I just suggested, the tracking and controlling of changes. But if you want detailed answer, identifying all items, collecting, define software configuration, collectively defining the software configuration, managing changes to one or more of these items, facilitating construction of different versions of the application, and ensuring that the software quality is maintained throughout. In this mode of change, what are the issues to be considered for developing tactics for web app configuration? Now, web application is also important because most of the projects are on web now. First is context, people and scalability. Define case tools. Case, CASE. Case is computer aided software engineering. So case tools, it is a system software which provides automated support for software process activities. It includes programs used to support software project activities, software process, and support automation for software process activity. And this is also supporting these activities. This is a program. For example, requirement analysis, system modeling, debugging, and testing. How do we define software quality? Software quality, well, there are various definitions of this software quality, but major of this is conformance to explicitly stated functional and performance requirements, explicitly documented development standards, implicit characteristics expected for professionals who develop software. These are software quality. Or you can say adherence to the requirements and adherence to the quality standards and least bug. Production of software that contains least bug, they may be considered the factors of quality. But define the terms quality of design and quality of performance. Quality of design is characteristic designer specified for an item. Quality of conformance is degree to which design specifications are followed during the manufacture. What are the type of case tools? We have already seen this case. What is case tools? There are uppercase tools and lowercase tools. This is itself a different topic. What is software reliability? Software reliability is defined in terms of probability. So probability of failure-free operation of computer program or software in a specified environment for a specified time is the reliability. Again, the probability, so the value will be between 0 and 1, right? So the probability of failure-free operation of computer software, you have to specify the environment also. So you have to specify the environment and you have to specify the time also. So it is given by e to the power minus lambda, this is minus lambda by MTBF, mean time between failure. This is the expression. How the registration process of ISO 9000 certification is done? Because ISO is everywhere, so this is a special question which will come. CMMI, ISO 9000, this will come. So registration process of ISO 9000 certification has various stages. First you apply, then there is a pre-assessment being carried out. Document are being reviewed and adequacy of audit is undertaken. Then the compliance audit is undertaken. Then the registration is done. And continuous surveillance after that. Because it is not that if you have been given this ISO awarded ISO 9000 certification and you are okay for a few years. No. there will be continuous internal quality audit and external quality audit in this ISO diagram. What are the factors of software quality? Now there are various software quality factors, and it depends entirely on the software. But we have McGraw-Hill software quality, Forbes, FURPS. So the major of them, which I have highlighted here, but this is not the only answer. You can add it and remove whichever is of your software requirement. Portability, usability, correctness, and maintainability. These are the most important as I have just tried to combine these various models and try to take those values which are important. So portability, usability, reusability, correctness, and maintainability, these are the factors of software. They are more. You can add more. Define software engineering. Again, we are revisiting the same question. According to IEEE, software engineering is the application of systematic, disciplined, quantifiable approach to the development, operation, and maintenance of software. So you are applying systematic, disciplined, and quantifiable approach for the development, right from the development to operation to maintenance of the software. Okay? This is the software engineering. What are the categories of software? There are various categories of software. You have system software, application software, embedded software, web application, artificial intelligence, software and scientific software. There are various. These are the broad ranges. You can find more ranges inside. Define testing. Testing is the process of executing a program with the intent of finding an error. And sometimes people also say that your success testing success depends on how many bugs you can find. So your testing will fail if you are not able to find a single bug. What is black box testing? We have already seen all this, but it is always good to revisit those questions which are generally asked. This will be asked. So black box testing, also known as functional testing, is a test case design method. C. This is a test case design method that focuses on the functional requirement of the software. What is verification and validation? Verification, validation. In simple line, if I can tell you, verification means are you making the product right, and validation means are you making the right product. More precisely, verification refers to the set of activities that ensure that software correctly implements a specific function, while validation refers to the set of activities that ensure that the software that has been built is traceable to the customer requirement. So verification involves activities like inspection, walkthroughs, and reviews. Validation requires proper testing and reviews also, but reviews are done here. What is debugging? Debugging is the process that results in the removal of it. So if you find bug, you debug them, you remove them. It occurs as a consequence of successful testing. What is error tracking? Error tracking is an activity that provides a means of assessing the status of the current project. If you can track the error, you can very well track or assess the status of the current project. What are case tools? This we have already seen, but let me exemplify it or elaborate it. CASE means computer aided software engineering. This tool assists software engineering managers and practitioners in every activity associated with the software process. They automate these project management activities, manage all works produced throughout the process, and they assist the engineers in their analysis, design, coding, and test work. We have various software systems available. For example, Rational Goals, LDRA. There's various. If you Google search, you will find so many of them with excellent properties, excellent user base. What is data design? Data design transforms the information domain model created during analysis into the data structure that will be required to implement the software. So you have received some information. Now you have to make a data structure out of it. How you are going to deal with the data in the software? This is data design. What is cohesion and coupling? The most loved question of interviewers. Cohesion. Cohesion is the measure of relative functional strength of a module. We are only talking about a single module. What is the relative functional strength of this module? If this module is made for calculating an area, is it calculating area, the attributes and functions inside it, are they doing that task only, or they are doing some other task? If they are doing some other task, cohesion is not. If they are only doing those tasks which is assigned, so the measure of relative functional strength of a module is cohesion. While the coupling is the measure of relative interdependence. This is intradependence, this is interdependence among modules. So now we are talking about 2-3 modules. How much they are coupled? You imagine a train, the bogies are coupled. So how much they are coupled? Means if one will go off the track, the others also will. So coupling should be as less as possible, and the module should not be interdependent. As less as possible, as least as possible. What are the different types of cohesions? We have coincident cohesion, logical cohesion, temporal cohesion, procedural cohesion, and communication based cohesion. What are different types of coupling then? Data coupling, stamp coupling, control coupling, external coupling, and common coupling, and content coupling. What is user interface design? User interface with which user interact with the software. User interface design creates an effective communication between human and the computer. What is meant by specification? A specification can be a written document, a graphical model, a formal mathematical model, a collection of usage scenario, a prototype, or any combination of this. Define the process. A series of steps involving activities, constraints, and resources. Please read it very carefully. These processes are the series of steps which involves activities, constraints, and resources that produce an intended output of some kind. Is known as process. So you have a process. There are various steps which are involved in this process. You have activities, you have constraints, and you have resources, and this process eventually produces this process. How spiral model works? Spiral is an important model. This is an evolutionary software process model that couples the iterative nature of prototyping. So prototyping, that also iterative nature of prototyping, with the controlled and systematic aspect of waterfall lifecycle. So iterative nature of prototyping combined with the controlled and systematic aspects of waterfall lifecycle model give rise to spiral. It also has an emphasis on the user or use of risk management techniques. So at each and every spiral, like a spiral binding, there is risk assessment involved. What is win-win spiral? This is often asked. Win-win spiral. This win-win spiral model defines the set of negotiation activities at the beginning of each, each pass of the spiral. Like if you are starting a new pass, say here or here, then you sit and you negotiate, you think over the activities of negotiation. So the best negotiations strive for a win-win, because you are looking after and you are trying to find out the risk. So there has to be win-win of both the parties. Mention the various views in system engineering hierarchy. The various views in this system engineering hierarchy from top to bottom are worldview, domain view, element view, and detail view. What is software requirement definition? This is not SRS, this is software requirement definition. So software requirement definition is an abstract description of the services which the system should provide and the constraints under which the system is going to operate. What is SDLC? SDLC, the software cycle, deals with various parts and phases from planning to testing and deployment. All these activities are carried out in different ways as per the needs. and each way is known as software development cycle or life cycle model, SDLC. Now, what are data acquisition systems? System that collects data from the sensors. For subsequent processing and analysis are termed as data acquisition system. The data collection process and processing processes may have different periods and deadlines. So when your system is interacting with some sensors and the data is acquired from them, we call them as data acquisition systems. Define software configuration model. SCM or software configuration model. This is the art of identifying, organizing, controlling modification. Identifying first, organizing and controlling, as I suggested earlier also, tracking and controlling. So you can add identifying and organizing also. Modifications to the software being built by programming team. So this is an umbrella activity that is applied throughout the software process. What are the SCM activities? Software configuration activities are developed to identify change, control change, and ensure that changes are being properly implemented, and report change to the others who may have interest. What are the advantages and disadvantages of white box testing? Advantages, first of all, software structure logic can be tested, and this is the basic advantage. What are the disadvantages? It doesn't ensure that the user requirements are met. Also, a test may not mimic real world situations. What is meant by loop testing? Loop testing is white box testing technique that focuses exclusively on the validity of loop constructs. This technique can be applied to simple loops, nested loops, concatenated loops, and unstructured loops. What is meant by smoke testing? Smoke testing is an integration testing approach that is commonly used when shrink-wrapped software products are being developed. The smoke testing, in hardware terms, if you switch on some gadget or device, if it is smoking, then you can very well realize that there is no point in testing now. So initial testing, so that the later testing can be done, is smoke testing. What is alpha and beta test? Alpha test is the test that is conducted at the developer side by the customer, and beta test is the test that is conducted at one or more customer sites by the end user of the system. What is meant by system testing? System testing is actually a series of different tests whose primary purpose is to fully exercise the computer-based system. Now you have done unit testing, then you have done integration testing. Now when the whole system as a whole you have to test, this is the system testing. So it verifies whether the system elements have been properly integrated and perform the allocated functions. What are the categories of debugging approaches? There are three categories of debugging approaches. First is brute force, backtracking, and cause elimination. These three you must remember: brute force, backtracking, and cause elimination. Define the metric. IEEE defines this as a quantitative measure of the degree to which the process, a system, or a component possesses a given attribute. So, this attribute, how much amount is present, the degree of which this attribute is present in this system, component, and processes, the quantitative measure of this degree is the metric. Mention some of the process model appropriate for the software to be engineered. You have linear, sequential, or waterfall model, the most famous model. Prototyping model is there. RAD, rapid application development model is there. Incremental model, spiral model. In the spiral model, we have win-win model also. In component-based development model also there. Agile model is there. What is adaptive maintenance? There are various types of software maintenance. 4 types of maintenance. Preventive, corrective, adaptive, and one more is there. Perfective. So adaptive maintenance is the maintenance to adapt software to a different operating environment, and it involves changing a system so that it operates at different environment from which it is intended. What are the advantages and disadvantages of black box testing? Advantages: it simulates actual system usage. It makes no system structure assumptions. Disadvantage: what are the logical errors in the software? Can't be found. Redundant testing, the possibility of redundant testing is also there. What are the broad categories of system requirements? System requirements may be divided into two major categories. One is fundamental or functional and another is non-functional. What are user requirements? User requirements should describe these functional and non-functional requirements so that they are understandable by the system users who don't have any detailed technical knowledge. Users' requirements are defined using natural language, table, and diagrams. What is test scenario? Test scenario is the hypothetical story to test the particular functionality of an application. This is a hypothetical story because you have to show a scenario, movie or anyway. It serves as an input to function testing. For test scenario, we need use case. Define an analysis model. An analysis model is a set of models that serves as the technical representation of a system. What is a prototype then? Prototype is an initial version of the software system, which is used to demonstrate concepts, try out design options, and generally to find out more about the problem and its possible solutions. What is the function of the user model then? User model establishes the profile of the user and users, whether they are whether they are sophisticated, they are scientific users. What is system image? A system image combines the outward manifestation of the particular system coupled with all supporting information that describes the system, syntax and semantics. What is transform mapping? Transform mapping is a set of design steps that allows a DFD with transform flow characteristics to be mapped into specific architectural style. Right? Traceability metrics. This is also a very good question. Traceability metrics, or RTM as we call it, requirement traceability metrics, is a document in which we map the test cases with the requirements. In general, we check whether the application works as per the requirement or whether we had covered all the required functionality through these test cases. List the metrics for specifying non-functional requirement. These are the possible metrics that specify non-functional requirement like speed, size, ease of use, and clarity. As I earlier suggested also, there can be many, but these are many. What is the difference between black box testing and white box testing? This is the most loved questions. Black box testing, white box testing. Black box testing, no knowledge of internal logic of the system is used to develop the test cases, uses validation techniques, applied during later stages of testing. An example are unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. White box testing, the knowledge of internal logic of the system is mandatory. This is used to develop the test cases. It uses verification techniques, as I suggested earlier, walkthrough and inspection and reviews, and is performed early in the testing processes. They both are complementary, they both have their benefits. Mention various types of maintenance, as I already answered this question because this is generally asked. Corrective maintenance, adaptive maintenance, and perfective maintenance. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.